Y'all really thought I was gonna skip Halloween? Come on now. This is my first list video, and I'm gonna stick to it mainly being horror. If not, I would put action in it, and this list would be completely different with aliens or predator being it. But let's get to it. So the top of my list is Scream. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I'm not a big fan of slasher films. I just don't find them all that appealing. And you know how it's gonna end. Don't get me wrong, I do like the first Halloween. I like the last one, not Halloween Kills. I didn't have enough time to make a video. It's not a great film. Also, it being a 5-year rule, just to keep it to my little rules. Scream literally breaks the mold, but also reshapes it at the same time, which I'm pretty sure a lot of films have tried to replicate this. I mean, even its own self, in the sequels, I haven't watched all of them. I tried watching the second one. I was told to avoid them, but it has an impressive script. It's also a very smart film. I mean, it tells you in the beginning who's the killer, but it also makes you take a double look with the principal tearing up the mask. I don't know. It just gives you like little hints and clues of who's who, and then it'll just take the rug right underneath you. And I just like having to put full attention to a film, and this is one of those that really does that with me. And it kills its biggest star right in the beginning, so that really threw me for a loop when I first saw this movie. I was like, well, she's gonna live, right? And nope. And they use actors that aren't very well known, except for Shaggy. I think I saw Scooby-Doo before I even watched this film, but it was weird seeing Shaggy tear through so many people. And he's still hilarious too. This movie is actually pretty weird for being hilarious and even being mysterious. And, well, it's the characters and they know what they're in for. And not just the characters, the actors alone, they're pretty funny. I mean, it'd be pretty dumb not to use them for the more comedic bits of the film. I mean, the characters are very immature. You believe all the reasons why they would get into these certain situations. Not just that, even the other characters are very believable. Some of them are shallow, some a little more complex than others. Some of them are straight shooters. And I thought it was genius having two killers. I mean, to explain why they could be there at two places at once at one certain time. And it's not supernatural or like crazy like Voorhees or Myers. And in this day and age, the motives are, kind of sadly believable. I mean, people just do stuff just to do stuff nowadays. But yeah, Scream is always playing in the background or playing with full attention whenever I'm handing out treats for kids. But let's move on to the next one. John Carpenter's The Thing. Based on the novel Who Goes There, it's a remake of a old 1950 classic B movie of Who Goes There. This takes me back nostalgia. My mom kind of traumatized me with this movie when I was a kid, and I'm kind of glad she did show me this movie because it still holds up. I played it last year for one of my buddies. He brought his girlfriend, and she just kept asking me questions. I was like, you gotta watch. It's one of those movies where it grips you at the beginning because they're shooting a dog in the middle of the snow, and you don't really get a lot of context of what's happening. They don't really explain it to you. You gotta figure it out. You gotta stay with it. And it just really pulls you in. They got Kurt Russell as the main protagonist. It's a bunch of men just stuck in Antarctica. And we already know how bad it can get up there. Very isolated. It's a sci-fi-ish horror film. But they use a lot of practical effects in marvelous ways that a lot of it still works because some of that stuff is like nightmarish. I don't know about kids today, but that really, I had a hard time sleeping after watching this movie when I was a kid, but I still enjoy it. The tension that John Carpenter can bring, the paranoia you can get just by watching this movie and having these characters not trust each other, and the score just amps up the thing with dun 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 dun. It just sets the mood right away. And going back to it, they're in Antarctica. They find whatever's wrong with the alien and they go back to the Norwegian area, which There's a prequel of what happened to the Norwegians. I don't really recommend it. It's basically this movie, but not as good. You see what happened, and it doesn't really give you too much details. You just get a lot of mystery, so that just makes it more amplified with the fear of, well, what's going on, and you don't really get a lot of answers. And when you get them, you're like, you feel like you're unprepared, or it's just the John Carpenter just drags out the tension in this film to a T, to perfection. And this is just one of those movies where it's just, I don't think it'll ever get old. It's a classic. I really recommend it. I think it was like, it's a cult classic from what I remember. I think Alien came out before this, so I think this movie didn't do as well in the box office. So if you do get a chance to watch it, but watch it from the beginning, because now you will be a little lost. But this is obviously one of my favorite movies, just in general, not just Halloween movies to watch, but one of my favorite films. So Poltergeist, the original haunted house film. And watching this recently, you see a lot of the tropes that are used nowadays. This set up those tropes. But yes, watching this, I felt Conjuring was almost just like this, just a little different in some areas, but you could really see all these type of films. And where they get their influence from is from Poltergeist. This movie, I'm not gonna lie, this movie, my mom introduced me to this when I was a kid, or I think it was on TV, or this movie freaked me out when I was a kid. It still freaks me out. I still have a little story. I used to be a painter. Well, not a painter. I used to be with the muralist, and I used to help them make murals in this middle school. And it was the same problem that was in here, where they built it on Native American burial grounds. So even the janitor told me to watch out for stuff at night, and I'm getting chills about it. But that movie didn't help with what that janitor said, like freaking me out. The film is based around a family coming to a new house, and it's a really nice area, but they start seeing a friendly ghost, and it starts doing random things, but then you start seeing things be a little weird, and then it just escalates until the TV, it's a classic scene with the TV. The girl is up next to the TV and she gets sucked into another dimension, and you try to get her out. They have, like I said, the tropes. They have an expert come in and try to get her out. And you've seen this story done 100 times after this, but the original Poltergeist classic film, it still holds its weight today in today's films, because right now we are in a horror golden age of film. Poltergeist set the path for movies like Conjuring and other films like this. Still to this day, Poltergeist still remains as one of my favorites. Freaked me out along with the stupid clown at the end. That really freaked me out. But this is one of those films where I just sit down on the couch, ignore everything else, and probably go to sleep at night with the lights on. But this is one of my favorites. This is one of my Halloween ones. So, Fright Night. I was very disappointed when this movie came out because it fell under the radar. I don't remember what happened at the time. I was working at the movie theaters, and I absolutely loved this movie because I think at this time it was during the whole Twilight era, and I was getting kind of tired of the vampire stuff because it was everywhere. It was True Blood. But this is the one that kind of changed everything for me and make me really want to see more vampire stuff done in the way that you could tell the filmmaker made. He put a lot of his love for the genre in this film. Okay, it's a remake. I haven't seen the original movie, nor do I want to, but I absolutely love this film. I just showed one of my buddies this film. It plays against a lot of the typical vampire tropes, like the mom not dating the neighborhood vampire. And by the way, Colin Farrell as the vampire in this film, Jerry. Yeah, it's pretty funny. This movie is actually pretty damn hilarious. The jokes still hold up pretty good. He does an excellent job. He's very cunning. He's very cunning. He's very charismatic, but also very scary at some points. But he's also very subtle. Like he's very nonchalant. Like a guy you want to hang out with. But this movie's also very good at turning up the tension. And I love how they do the show but don't tell. They do that tremendously well in this film. Because you already know if you know the vampire rules, like don't get invited inside the house. They play with all of that. And it's incredible how they actually could mix terror one scene with a laugh at the same time to bring it some type of levity. I think that's where it gets you sometimes. It can make you laugh. It could also make you feel a little bit comfortable, which means puts you right at the point of being comfortable enough to be on this ride, but also knowing the terror that lies ahead. But the character Charlie, who's played tremendously well by Anton Yelchin, and he died recently, I think in the last few years, in a car accident. But he did a really good job in this film. And there's some points where you really feel for this character. And especially this one scene where he has to take down somebody. And you could really see the pain in his eyes. Oh, David Tennant's in this film, which does an incredible job. I can't tell who's more charismatic, him or Colin Farrell as a vampire, because this movie still slaps. And I am really glad that this film exists, but also very disappointed that it's still under the radar, and I wish this movie really could get some attention. Reason why I'm putting it on this list, also because this movie it's very unique. This is one of my favorite Halloween films. But on to the next one. So, Cabin in the Woods. I saw the trailers and I thought it was another dumb. Kids go to the cabin in the woods and they get slaughtered. And at that point, there was so many remakes of the Halloween movies and all this other stuff and all these dumb slasher movies. And I was really tired of all that stuff because I would always get dragged to go to see those movies. And I wasn't a big fan of it because I already knew how it was going to end. I knew where it was going to go at every single turn. And this movie blew me away. The people I went with did not like it, which doesn't make any sense to me. This movie was so much fun. It is a weird hodgepodge movie. It's an homage to every horror film out there. Okay, so this movie really grabbed me right away with the unique dialogue, especially with the people in the office. And the kids aren't actually dumb teenagers. They know their shit. Like, they're people that are very well educated. They play with the tropes, literally play with the tropes. And this movie, man, they even bring a big heavy hitter at the end of this film. I mean, the ending was a little weird for me, but I could let it pass. But it was also a pretty funny movie too. I mean, it doesn't have the same heart as maybe Fright Night, but this movie is such a wild ride. This is the Halloween movie because it has everything, all the horror stuff in one movie. I mean, what could you ask for more? And the way it plays exactly the same way like the other films, which weirdly enough, mostly all my Halloween movies play with the tropes of the genre that they're in. But it plays with them quite literally at some points, and it's a great, unique film that I really hope that people give it a second shot and look at it through new lenses, because I know this movie gets a lot of hate in the circles I run with. But Cabin in the Woods is an absolute favorite of mine. And I hope y'all enjoyed this. This is something new for me. I've never done a top 5 or anything. I've been wanting to, but I just don't know how to tackle it. So let me know down in the comments, what is y'all's favorite Halloween movies that y'all always go to, and if you have any recommendations, let me know too. Also, I was gonna actually put La Llorona that recently came out, Train to Busan, and The Girl That Stalks at Night. I think that's what it's called. I'll put it up here. But let me know down in the comments what y'all think of this video, if I should do more. I hope y'all like this video. Let me down in the comments below if you liked it or what is your favorites. But y'all take it easy, guys. And happy Halloween.